He was instrumental in some of Trump's most contentious policy moves, including the ban on people from several Muslim-majority countries, abandoning the Paris Climate Accord, tearing up international trade agreements, and cracking down on illegal immigration. He was no friend of the Republican political establishment and was loathed by liberals, but was a darling of some of the president's hardline conservative supporters. White House officials said Trump had told new Chief of Staff John Kelly to crack down on the bickering and infighting, and that Bannon's fate was sealed by comments published on Wednesday in the American Prospect Liberal magazine, in which he spoke of targeting his adversaries within the administration. As Trump came under fire from Republicans, including 2 former presidents, and from business leaders and U.S. allies abroad, he faced mounting calls for Bannon's ouster. Critics had accused Bannon of harboring anti-Semitic and white nationalist sentiments. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly and Steve Bannon have mutually agreed today would be Steve's last day, White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders said in a statement. Bannon returned to his post as executive chairman of right-wing Breitbart News on Friday afternoon, the website said. Prior to joining the Trump campaign, he had spearheaded Breitbart's shift into a forum for the alt-right, a loose online confederation of neo-Nazis, white supremacists and anti-Semites. Bannon said his departure from the White House signals a major shift for the Trump agenda. The Trump presidency that we fought for, and won, is over, Bannon told the conservative Weekly Standard. I just think his ability to get anything done, particularly the bigger things, like the wall, the bigger, broader things that we fought for, it's just gonna be that much harder, Bannon said. He became the latest key figure to abruptly depart a Trump White House that has been chaotic from its first days and already has lost a chief of staff, a national security advisor, 2 communications directors, and a chief spokesman. Trump's presidency also has been dogged by ongoing investigations in Congress and a special counsel named by the Justice Department into potential collusion between his presidential campaign and Russia, something both Trump and Moscow deny. A champion of economic nationalism, Bannon, 63, is a former U.S. Navy officer, Goldman Sachs investment banker and Hollywood movie producer. Bannon had been in a precarious position before, but Trump opted to keep him, in part because he had played a major role in Trump's November 2016 election victory over Democrat Hillary Clinton and was backed by many of the president's most loyal rank-and-file supporters. Democrats cheered Bannon's departure. Steve Bannon's firing is welcome news, but it doesn't disguise where President Trump himself stands on white supremacists and the bigoted beliefs they advance, said Nancy Pelosi, the top House of Representatives Democrat. The Trump administration must not only purge itself of the remaining white supremacists on staff, but abandon the bigoted ideology that clearly governs its decisions. Markets react. Wall Street indexes and the U.S. dollar ended a volatile session lower after a week of drama in Washington intensified doubts about Trump's ability to deliver on policy objectives such as tax cuts. After a late morning boost following reports of Bannon's ouster, the dollar and U.S. equities lost ground. Bannon felt a close ideological connection to Trump's populist tendencies and America First message. Like Trump, he has also expressed deep skepticism concerning ongoing American military involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan. The decision to fire Bannon could undermine Trump's support among far-right voters but might ease tensions within the White House and with party leaders. Republicans control the White House and both chambers of Congress but have been unable to pass major legislative goals, including a health care legislation overhaul, because of fierce intra-party divisions. Trump ran into trouble after saying anti-racism demonstrators in Charlottesville were as responsible for the violence as the neo-Nazis and white supremacists who instigated the protests, and that there were very fine people among both groups. Those remarks sparked rebukes from fellow Republicans, top corporate executives and some close allies, even as some supporters, including Vice President Mike Pence, stood by Trump. Bannon's departure removes a large source of friction on the White House staff, but does not herald a significant shift by Trump toward the center on foreign policy, defense, or economic issues, 3 administration officials said. Bannon has been a hawk on China, urging a tougher line on trade to correct a huge trade imbalance and dismissive of recent efforts to try to elicit Beijing's help to rein in North Korea. In his comments to American Prospect, Bannon said the United States was in an economic war with China. A second official said the biggest winners from Bannon's departure are National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, Gary Cohn, Trump's chief economic advisor, and Trump's daughter Ivanka and her husband, Jared Kushner. Bannon's departure cast a cloud over the future of the group of allies he had brought into the White House, such as Sebastian Gorka. Latest White House disarray: the first senior White House official to depart was National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who Trump fired in February. On July 28, Trump replaced his beleaguered White House Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, installing retired General John Kelly in his place. Trump ousted White House Communications Chief Anthony Scaramucci on July 31 over an obscene tirade 10 days after he was named to the post. Scaramucci's hiring had prompted Sean Spicer, a Priebus ally, to quit as press secretary. In May, Trump also fired Federal Bureau of Investigation Director James Comey. Asked about Bannon on Tuesday, Trump called him a friend of mine but downplayed his contribution to his election victory. Mr. Bannon came on very late. You know that. I went through 17 senators, governors, and I won all the primaries. Mr. Bannon came on very much later than that. And I like him. He is a good man. He is not a racist, Trump said.